What's going on? I am here today with my friend Patty from Wayflyer. And wow, we're going to talk about some really interesting aspects of growing your business. And those two aspects are the first one's hard for everybody, and that's gaining some funding to expand. Right. So we're going to talk about the different types of funding you may have access to. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is Wayflyer is such a unique company because they got started, and I'm going to let Patty explain more about this in a minute here, but they got started in helping brands that weren't traditionally Amazon, right? Brands that were, Shopify, their own e-commerce websites, that kind of thing, helping those brands grow. And they've kind of fallen into helping now people who are primarily on Amazon grow. But they got started helping these other brands grow, and they learned some key metrics that really assisted in helping those key metrics and insights, and really assisted in helping people grow. So we're going to talk about some of those key insights today. And I know that whether or not you need funding or whatever, you're going to learn something about maybe some insights and some metrics that you're not currently tracking, that brands that have grown to become mega brands use to run their businesses. So I'm excited to learn today from Patty. I'm excited to learn about these metrics because I am a numbers and metrics nerd. I love it. What gets measured gets managed. So I'm excited to talk to Patty about that today, as well as hopefully, if people need funding, maybe there's some people out there that can qualify for that as well. So welcome, Patty. It's so great to have you. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Yes, well, firstly, thanks a million for having me on, Amy, and hello to all your audience. As you mentioned, it's really important for us now to try to work and get in front of more Amazon brands, because over the last year or two at Wayflyer, we've really focused on, or we just didn't necessarily focus. We're platform agnostic. We really just want to fund all e-commerce or any online businesses selling physical goods. But we just started out with Shopify, as that's the first connector that we happen to build. But really, we're agnostic and really looking to build relationships and help all online sellers. But yeah, a bit about myself, Patrick Cleary, from Dublin, Ireland. I moved to the States 5 or 6 years ago to work in finance, then quickly fell in love with e-commerce, and by a few lucky choices and decisions around the way, I ended up getting into Wayflyer quite early, and now I lead our partnerships in the US. So yeah, I'm happy to jump in wherever we want. I think you mentioned you're a stats person, and I'm guessing a lot of your audience are into stats as well. Just at a very high level, before even jumping into what we do, a bit of background on the number of customers we work with and the amount of revenue we see coming through our platform or our app. So Wayflyer, how we give funding out to our customers is they connect up their transactional data, marketing data, and customer analytical data, and then we use that to predict a future revenue forecast for each of those companies, and then we give advice, recommendations, and funding based off those data points that we collect. But just back on your kind of love for stats, I have a way to look up our total amount of customers here, and this is just something I was looking at during the week that I found really interesting as I share that love for stats with yourself. But from our customer base, we have from collecting about 7,000 or 8,000 customers as of last November. So we've grown quite a lot since then. But last November, around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we saw almost 3 billion. It was $2.75 billion in revenue last November through our customers on the platform. So we work with a lot of large brands, and out of that number, the 7,000 or 8,000, I can see that we have over 1,200 of them are selling on Amazon. Some of them will be direct pure Amazon players. A lot of them, though, because of our history, will be maybe a Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento brand that also has Amazon stores. And more interesting just digging into those stats mostly for yourself, Amy, is that we saw about 500 million in Amazon revenue on our platform, and was our biggest month, which was last December. So just an interesting little fact there as
Wow,
well.
that's a those are some big numbers. You have a B in there. Those are some big numbers. So that's exciting to hear that brands are doing well, and that you guys are helping them grow. So that's cool. So I would love to know when when a primarily I don't like to call them Amazon brands, because you know it, Amazon is just a sales channel, just like Shopify is a sales
Distribution, yeah.
channel. But when we think about a brand that's primarily their primary sales channel is on Amazon, and they come to you, how is it that you help them? Like, how do you look at what they're doing, and what is it that Wayflyer actually helps them to do?
Yeah, so similar to yourself, we don't look at any one customer as an Amazon seller or a Shopify seller or brand or whatever way, because again, they are just distribution channels at the end of the day. And the goal to grow any brand, depending on what scale or size or wherever you're at in your life cycle, you will need to go into new channels and adopt an omni-channel approach where it makes sense, and then where you can and at the right time. But what we've always focused on from day one is that we never wanted to be just a financing provider or someone that you could come in and just get $100,000 and then pay us back and forget about it. We always wanted to try add as much value to our customers and build a strong relationship with our customers. And that's why when we first started with, say, Shopify sellers or any direct consumer physical sellers, we also have a data analytics platform. So from day one, we were trying to add value to that customer by saying, okay, connect up your transactional data, marketing data, and customer analytical data. Not only will we use that to underwrite the company and decide how much funding we can give to them, but we'll also audit that account. And we have our full in-house team of marketing specialists that are ex Facebook, ex TikTok marketing professionals, and they will go in and offer this to our customers and say, look, if you want to sit down, we'll do a deep dive, look at those accounts and see where you're performing well, where you're not performing well, what other brands are doing better that are working for them, and just try add that value and build that relationship up. And that's also led to us launching a lot of additional services to that customer base. And how we do that is, I think back to your original question about how we help Amazon customers today, is we'll always, through those relationships we build to our customers, we also monitor to see what challenges and pain points those customers are facing in real time. And for those challenges and pain points that a lot of our customers are facing, they then lead us to say, okay, well, this is a more macro problem for all sellers. We should be trying to address this, and they can actually lead to us putting teams behind. So we've raised quite a lot of equity capital over the last 2 years, which has put us in a nice position to be able to invest into our own teams. And we have, I think, maybe over 100 people purely focused on building out new products. And again, how we decide to build those new products is what new products can we develop in the. We don't want to grow outside of our core vertical, which is those direct consumer sellers. So how we want to grow is by adding value add products that help our core customer base. So one of them, to add on to the kind of marketing insights and analytics tool, is that we've actually built a partnership with TikTok now, that we get payment terms with TikTok that nobody else, no other lending providers can be able to get you, or I don't know of anywhere else you can get these payment terms in the market. As we've seen, a lot of our customers struggle with other ad platforms, with the latest updates in iOS 14 and 15. That's led them to go into the channels like TikTok. And then, so we developed a relationship with TikTok, and now we pass on 60-day net payment terms with 0% fee to all of our customers as they test out this new ad platform. So it's just an example of kind of how we add value.
I'm curious about that. Like, what kind of things are brands doing, your brands that you're working with, what kind of things are they doing on TikTok to move the needle?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. Look, we have again thousands of brands, so it runs the gamut of what vertical or niche they might be in, and whatever that'll obviously determine what they're doing on the likes of TikTok. But what I've probably seen the work best, and this is anecdotally through a couple of brands that I've might know personally, but what I've seen work best is on TikTok they will just try to incentivize their customer base to create UGC, to create user generated content. And then if any of those, so an easy way to incentivize a customer to do that would be, I don't know, but give them 10% off, or give them a discount for future purchases or something if they, or a free
Help them
gift or
like become
something
a
if they,
brand ambassador or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah. Standard practices like that. But then the nuance with TikTok is, so they're posting it on TikTok, because it's very hard for a brand to come up with a TikTok strategy. It's a very new form, especially depending on what who's running that brand. But if you can empower your customer base to do it, and that's typically what performs very well on a platform like TikTok. And then by having, and I don't fully understand TikTok either. I don't use it too much, but I know that something can go viral very quickly. That there's no way of really knowing what's going to go viral. But if you can incentivize your whole customer base to put up a few videos and one of them goes viral, then you can actually choose that one video that one of your customers has created. So it hasn't cost you anything to do that. Maybe it's cost you a free gift. And then you can actually take that video that you know is now performing well on TikTok and actually throw ad dollars behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
we've
pour the
seen,
gasoline on the things that are converting already organically, which works well across the board, whether it's YouTube or whether it's Facebook or, once you know that something is performing, like, why not throw it out to a bigger audience? And you can do that with advertising. Very smart. So you mentioned you have this data analytics platform and you share data between all of the different brands that you're working with. You basically compile that data and use it to those growth indicators to grow the different brands. I would love to know a little bit more about the metrics there. Like, so what are the metrics that are the most important in growing a business? Like, what do you guys track when you analyze a brand to see how much funding you can give them? What does that look like, and what's important when it comes to metrics?
yeah, of course. I mean, I think in our type of financing, it's very important that that a company is growing efficiently. So what that means, so in our type of financing, we don't take any personal guarantees, no covenants. We'll sit junior to debt. It's very founder friendly, very little, and also because it's revenue based, it also means that you're if you fail as a company, you don't owe us anything. We don't have any guarantees. We don't have any liens on your assets. So we have to really make sure that the customers that we work with are strong customers and strong brand or strong sellers that are going to do well and be able to pay us back. So what we look at in that instance is being able to scale effectively. And what I mean by that is, um, and the metrics to answer your question that kind of boils down to is really how are you acquiring your customer? And so what is your customer acquisition cost? And what is that customer acquisition cost over time relative to the lifetime value of a customer that you have? So that can change a lot, of course, depending on what products you're selling. If you're, the classic example is if you're selling a mattress, um, that customer probably isn't going to be repurchasing another mattress anytime soon. But if you're selling a subscription toilet paper company, which we have a couple of them, which are great products, they're recurring revenue coming in. So you can actually, I believe you're on mute there.
Subscription toilet paper?
Oh yeah, what's a great one? I think Who gives a crap might be one we have, which
I
that's
need to get
always.
into that business, y'all. Subscription toilet paper, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been
I
there when you
mean,
run
we
out
were gonna do
of toilet
subscription.
paper.
Were we gonna do? We love consumables, right? Weren't we gonna do something
We
liquid?
wanted to do a health company, I believe, is what
Yeah,
we
we were
were,
gonna do
which is
liquid
still
health,
it's
right?
still in our it's still in my pipeline anyway. Someday we'll work together
Mine
to sell
too.
some
We've just
water.
been busy with other stuff, but it's good to know that for our liquid health company that we were going to start, that the most important thing is we look at how do we acquire customers, right? Like how are we getting them? Are we getting them on Facebook? Are we getting them with ads? Are we getting them organically? How are we acquiring a customer? And then number two, what is the acquisition cost? So for every customer, depending on how many ads we're running and what we're spending to acquire a customer, what's the cost per customer? And then what is that over time? Is that growing? Is it going up? We would hope that our customer acquisition cost in the beginning, of course, is going to be a little more expensive, but we would hope that we see that go down over time, right? Because then that means that we're getting repeat purchases that aren't costing us ad dollars, that are, word of mouth is spreading. So, yeah, that's really interesting. When it comes to a brand that's primarily on Amazon, how do you calculate that? And do you calculate that?
When it comes to, so again, we haven't focused just on Amazon. We've never just had a specific focus on that. I'd say where we add the most value to Amazon sellers today is most Amazon sellers that come to us again aren't just an Amazon brand. They typically do have other channels that they sell in. And if they started off on Amazon, they might be looking to grow into other channels. And I think that's where we add the most value, is that that's our kind of specialty. That's what we've analyzed like I think we've analyzed over 30,000 direct to consumer brands in the last 2 years. Um, and we've helped them to scale and always kind of advised them. So we almost have like our customer success team, which again, thanks to the success we've seen over the last 2 years, we've been able to develop a lot of resource and put it into that team to add value to those customers. So an Amazon brand where we help them today is advising them to say, okay, well, you're doing 70% of your revenue on Amazon and you've just started doing 10 or 20% off on your own branded site. What are the nuances there? What can we help you to understand? What's the low hanging fruit there that every other brand that lives in this other world? Because I've only started to notice this over the last year or two. There are almost completely separate worlds out there of kind of people who just have been really successful on Amazon and have just kind of developed more. Maybe what they've done is created more brands on Amazon because that's what they know, where they still have this really good underlying product that if you're only selling it on one distribution channel, there's so much potential out there in those other channels, and not just online. I mean, you could depending on your product vertical.
So I have a
Um,
great question for you there. Like what channels, off of Amazon do you see have the most promise for brands? Like what are brands doing that are in your portfolio, right? That you guys are helping. What are they doing that are, outside of Amazon that are really that you're seeing are some of the most powerful channels?
well, I mean, owning your own, like having your own website, of course, is very important. That's where we see most of our customers, and building that your own brand and building your own customer list and customer base, and so you're able to retarget to them at a much lower cost. Even you could go a step further. What we're seeing a lot of brands doing today is once they've developed their brand and grow to a certain size, then it makes sense for them to not only have a website but maybe have an app, and that has its own nuances to it. If you have your own app, and you can use there's a service called Tapcart that we partner with that helps brands do that. Typically, you need to be doing maybe a million or more on your website for that to make sense. But then, what value is added to you there is you now live on your customer's phone. You have your own dedicated app that you don't have to pay Facebook or TikTok or anybody to advertise within your own app, because you own that whole place. So there's those kind of nuances. And there's also, we're seeing a lot of customers again the larger ones do maybe partnerships with other brands, or even just doing placements on other brands' websites. So if you think about owning your own website, you're how you acquire that customer is you run ads and you spend money to drive traffic onto the website that you've created, and that's fantastic. But all these other thousands of companies are doing the same thing, and some company, or let's call them brands, some brands might have a very similar audience but not be competing with you on products. And they're paying a lot of money to get the traffic onto their website. If you partner with that company, and you can get your product on their website, then that means you're just getting more exposure. You're getting more eyeballs on your products. And also, so there's a company that partner with there as well. I'd be good friends with the team now called Caro, getcaro.com, CARRO. And their software that just enables that co-selling. Let's call it co-selling between brands. So it's an example I like. That there's an electric bike company called Super 73. I have one in New York, but an easy example for them is they sell these bikes. These are I guess higher end electric bikes. There might be $2,000 or $3,000 for different SKUs. But again, the repurchase rate isn't a huge amount. I'm not going to buy a bike every 2 or 3 weeks, but they've used this. They now do co-selling where you can well, they sell merchandise and stuff, but you can also buy helmets. They don't create helmets, but a popular helmet brand, Thousands, I think it's called, now sell all their helmets on the bike website, and I believe they do a lot of volume through that website because again, that makes sense intuitively. If I'm going to buy a bike, I'm probably going to need to buy a helmet instead of me having to search or me have 10 helmet brands fight for my attention by advertising to me over and over and spending money on Facebook and whatever else to try get me onto their website. I'm already on this website buying the bike, and it hasn't cost them anything. They just do a arrangement with that website. That's something cool I see as well. Some of our brands doing.
Wow. Oh my, I could talk. So we just got to do a whole show about this because I want you to give me like, I just learned so much that I didn't even think about the app perspective for brands to have their own app, or the co-selling aspect is, I mean, of course I've thought about partnering with other brands and like, working together, but in terms of actually building up your website to the point where you can sell something on someone else's website, like so much cheaper, and they already have the ranking, your organic traffic. So smart. I hadn't even thought about that. Like, there was so much gold in in all those examples you just gave. Like, I love it. Let's keep going.
The most important point about that as well, to keep note, is you still receive the customer's information, so you actually still fulfill the order in that scenario. So if I'm on Super 73 and I buy a Thousands helmet, Thousands will still fulfill the order. They'll send me the helmet, which makes logistics easier. And then also they receive my information, and they can retarget me through emails or ask me to download their app or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the other thing that you guys are doing, and just want to say hi to Ria. Ria, thank you so much for saying hello. And Ria says 100% never put your eggs in one basket. All platforms have differences. I've seen sellers do very well on Etsy with very higher priced products. I agree, Ria, 100%. Like, you shouldn't just limit yourself, especially in e-commerce. And Patty's given us all these good ideas about, like, you could put your brand on another brand's website and, like, get all that attention. You could have an app where you can follow up with your customers and have that software side that supports your product. There's so many different things that you can do. And what I've noticed that Patty brought up here is there are so many ways, there's so many companies out there that specialize in helping you make that connection. Like, you were talking about having a discount with TikTok for TikTok partnerships. You were talking about This getcaro.com, that where you can be able to, they can help you partner with another brand and be recognized that way. I think there's so many huge strategies that work today that we weren't even thinking about, right? On Amazon, we think about PPC. We think about, yes, maybe I can grow my list off of Amazon a little bit. Maybe I can follow up so that I can launch my next product on Amazon. But so many opportunities in growth off of Amazon. And yes, there's more setup required for sure, but the margin can be higher, and the snowball effect that happens is huge, right? Like, yes, initially you're getting started, but I'm sure that you guys see that when you help with funding is, yeah, we've got some potential here. Let's fund this. So let's switch over to the funding side of things. When it comes to funding, let's talk about that. What do people use the money for, and what are you guys seeing that moves the needle the most and creates that snowball?
Yeah, of course. Sorry, there might be a bit of background. I am at a conference here. Actually at a CFO conference in Salt Lake, and typically we work with mostly the CEOs and CFOs of brands. But and that kind of ties up to your question. Then, what is the typical use of funds that our brands will take out the money for? And that's our the term of our financing is typically anywhere between kind of 4, 6, 9, 12 months. And that's for a working capital need. It's a very specific need. And that's mostly inventory financing or marketing costs, really, is what we see. And the challenge, which I'm sure is the same across any business, really, especially online businesses, and whether you're on, no matter what platform you're on, is that there's a very, depending on your product, how long it takes to manufacture, you have a different cash conversion cycle. The longer your cash conversion cycle is, the more difficult it is to finance that product. If it takes longer to turn that product into profit, it gets harder to reinvest, and that's where our type of financing, or it's called revenue-based financing, becomes very important, or very necessary to scale at a certain rate. That's the main use case. Is brands that are scaling quickly and miss out on their potential to scale quicker because they couldn't buy a big enough inventory order, or spend enough on ads, or invest into going off or developing a new channel, going off Amazon, for example, here is the main I'd say what we see customers using the funds for is that, yeah, working capital. And I think I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I'd say about 70% of our customers are using our financing to purchase their inventory, and then mostly marketing or day-to-day costs. And it's at certain crunch times coming up, like right now, for example, especially in the Shopify space, but any brand space, I guess, coming into holiday, Black Friday is where we see this. This is our busiest few months, like in preparation for that, as all brands, no matter how long or short their cash conversion cycle is, they typically have a lower few months in preparation for their biggest few months of the year. So that's where their balance sheets get under a lot of stress, or their cash balance gets under a lot of stress, and they need to use someone like us. And that's where we've always prided ourselves on being as flexible as possible for each of our customers. So any customer that signs up a Wayflyer and creates an account, we will, it can be pretty much all automated if you would like, but what we like to do is and what we've noticed over the last, from the thousands of customers we now work with, is no customer wants to be fully automated, and it doesn't actually add value to either side of it, because there's only so much you can get from data. But what's more important really is actually talking to the founder to see what their specific need is. So we do have a huge team of growth capital managers, and then also customer success managers, to figure out what is the need for that company. Because a company could come in to us and say, "Oh, I need $100,000 today, or okay, well, what do you need that $100,000 for? And in some cases, we might say, oh yeah, you're spot on. That's what we'd agree. Or it might say you actually only need 50,000, or it could say you need 200,000. And also, how would you structure it? How should that be structured? Like, should we give you that all right now, or is it for an inventory purchase that you might only have to pay half of it this week, and in 3 weeks' time is your next payment? So we'll actually spread out those the time that we give you that funding. So we're not charging you for giving you the full amount when you don't need all of your capital. So those kind of bits of information we need to speak to the founders as well, and try to come up with the bespoke solution for them to take that funding.
So yeah, you kind of work hand in hand, and so that being said, like I mean, as we're coming into wrapping this up here today, let's talk about who do you help? Like, what kinds of brands are the right fit for Wayflyer when you're qualifying somebody to come in and work with you? Who's your ideal client?
I mean, our ideal client is now, so over the last 2 years, we've done a very good job at our at choosing the brands that we work with, and keeping making sure that everyone we worked with could take on the money and spend it effectively, as I alluded to at the start, which has meant we've actually given out over $1 billion in the last kind of year and a half to customers, and not a lot of them have defaulted, which has meant we now have the top tier one banks giving us our debt to give out to our customers. So our customers get access with JP Morgan, Credit Suisse, give us our debt, which is the lowest cost of capital than any kind of alternative financing provider in the space, or certainly any that I've seen. So what that means is now who we focus on, or our ICP is kind of those larger brands, doing upwards of, like, I think some of our biggest brands are doing 100, 200 million, but we can go down as little as $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And we can work with anyone from in between, so 20K a month up to doing hundreds of millions. And we have slightly different products for the different size merchants. Typically, we prefer profitable brands, but again, as I alluded to earlier, if they have a really strong recurring element to it and have a really strong path to profitability, we can work with them. And we'd like to see inventory on hand as well. If the brand is out of inventory and waiting for inventory to come in, it gets difficult for us to work with them right away. But in that scenario, we would just wait until that inventory order comes in to work with them.
Got it. And then
So sorry, actually, which is actually important. Just one last bit is we don't work with drop shippers. Is one customer or one kind of like niche that we can't work in.
Got it. So you work with all sorts of brands, lower 5-figure revenue a month, and up. You're kind of, you're looking for them to have that inventory and stuff. You want them to be profitable, but there's different scenarios where you can make things work. So let's talk about funding fees. So you mentioned, that you mentioned a bragging point, Harry. You said, Amy, we have the lowest cost of capital compared to any other alternative lender. So what does that mean? Low cost of capital. What are we looking at for fees?
Yeah, I mean, this depends on the risk profile and the size of the merchant, but it can be as low as 0.6% a month, up to maybe 1% a month. And then it comes down to how long the need for that funding is. So if the brand needs the funds for 6 months, we might have a 6% fee if they're getting, just to keep it simple. And also to talk a little bit to the structure of our financing. Let's say a customer takes $100,000, and we give them there's a 6% fee in that last scenario, then we will send them that $100,000 in cash if that's the ideal solution we agreed with them. So we'll send them that $100,000 cash into their bank account, and then as part of that agreement, we'll also agree a percentage of revenue that we get paid back until that total amount is paid back to us. So that's the 106,000 in that case.
Okay.
But
Got
yeah,
it. So it just
so
depends on
depending on the time and the size of the merchant, it could be anywhere between 1% and 10%. Let's call it.
Okay. which is fair. And if you're flipping that money fast, it's a very low percentage. So good.
Yeah, and the importance, I guess, is figuring out with each brand what makes the most sense for them. If they need, because the use of funds, if they want to put it into let's say if they're using the funds to develop a whole new team, hire a team to go off Amazon, um, that's a much longer term project, and it probably doesn't make sense to use our type of funding to fund something that's not going to get a return on that revenue right away. But if it's, coming into Black Friday, you've no money, but you need money for marketing, and know that you're going to have a huge day if you spend that marketing, you might only need those funds for a month, and then you might just be paying um, a less than a percent fee on that, or anywhere in between. If it's an inventory purchase, it could be 4 months for you to get that cash paid back. And then it gives you the flexibility as well to reassess kind of throughout that life cycle of the relationship as well. If you're, let's call it 60% of the way paid back to us in the scenario I mentioned earlier, let's say you pay back $60,000, but things are actually going really well and your brand is continuing to scale and continuing to grow, and you've already spent all of your capital again on reinvesting it into your brand and purchasing more inventory, purchasing more ads that are performing well, we'll see that right away and say, okay, well, we can give you more funding to keep that growth going. But obviously that works both ways. If it's not going so well, it gets more difficult for us to work together. And also, it doesn't. We would never recommend brands who are having more systemic problem to typically taking more debt on. If you're struggling in many other ways, debt isn't always the answer. So typically, it's brands that are having issues scaling and scaling too quickly that we are a good fit for.
Very good. And so I just want to bring up the website. I'm going to show it on the screen so that people see. And you can go to wayflyer.com and go check out everything that Wayflyer offers. And you've got your get funded and speak to an expert here. And Patrick, you mentioned that they can contact you at your email if they have some questions beyond this, and I'll put that on the screen. That's patrick@wayflyer.com, so you guys can check that out and get in contact and check out the website, read a little bit more about what they do. And they have a special deal for us. They said if you mention Amy from Amazing at Home, you can actually receive 10% off your first fee. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for doing that, Patty.
Anything for you, Amy?
Very cool. Yeah. So I just want to thank you today for spending some time with us and giving us some gold about what we could do, different ways that you guys help brands grow, and the different brands that you help and how you help them. And I learned some new things that I think I might have to explore. You gave us some really cool options for different companies that help make those connections. So I'm definitely going to check that out. And yeah, thank you for spending the time today and for being with us. And yeah, hopefully people reach out and get some help and some assistance in growing their brands.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, my emails are open. And if you do just sign up, if you just go to the website, just mention Amy, and we'll get that discount for you.
Amazing.
But thanks a million for having me on and getting me in front of your audience. I know they're a very highly engaged audience and doing some great things and selling some really cool brands. So would love to be able to work with more of them.
Yes, for sure. And, we hope to see you guys. We're doing a seller meetup Christmas party coming up here December 14th in Austin, Texas. You guys can go to sellermeetup.com and check that out. Come visit, wear your ugliest Christmas sweater. Because
I always need a reason to go to Austin. So
you do.
Send me the dates anyway.
Yes, December 14th. I will follow up with you. And you guys, come spend the holidays with us in Austin in December. We'd love to have you. don't forget to reach out to Wayflyer and get some funding, get some expertise, see what's available to you, and hopefully you learned a little bit on this live stream today. And we'll see you guys next time. And hopefully I'll see some of you guys at the Q4 party. We're celebrating Q4 with a ball drop next week in Miami. It is going to be so much fun. So get yourself over. It's q4kickoff.com. So those are the next two events I'll be at. And hopefully we'll see you guys there too. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks again, Patty.
Thanks a lot.